Hello, all you cosmic travelers and wanderers. This is Darlene Vandergrift and K. Melissa Waterman, inviting you to join us today in our episode of Expansion from Within, Exploring Multidimensionality. Well, welcome back. Here we are with Darlene for episode number 57. Today's episode is called Death Be Told. Darlene's going to read something that she wrote in collaboration with someone from the other side. Do you want to say anything more about it before you read?
Sure. I had two friends that passed in this very close together, and the one woman that passed came in a few days after her service, and it was collaborated with the Evolves that this is how they view it as well. And it's called Death Be Told. And so, yeah, I like to read it. It's their take on what death is about from a different viewpoint.
Great.
All right. Top down, electric blue convertible, the wind blowing in your hair and the warm sun on your face. Life is good. White billowing clouds drift overhead as dots of brilliant blue burst in and out of view. Green meadows, fields of daisies and wildflowers gently bend in the breeze. There were a few occasions bumps in the winding road, both behind and ahead, perhaps caused by unawareness or distraction. Either way, you take it in stride and keep going. Worn out roads and potholes from long, harsh winters, sometimes lasting for years, dodging them and other creatures that seemed lost, dashing across your path or lingering too long, wide-eyed, frightened of what was coming, seemingly frozen in time. They wait for the inevitable impact that you do to best to avoid. The radio blasting tunes of past times, good times, all drifting in your mind and never forgotten. Friends, family, loved ones, all those you have shared your life with and all that life offers, flint in and out of range. You sing joyously with songs, smiling at your accomplishments, wins, while letting go of the occasional losses that carved who you are. You glance at the dashboard, alarmed that the red light for the gas is on, meaning you have 10 miles left before empty. No one is around, not for miles nor a gas station. Then you realize in your hurry to leave on this beautiful day, you forgot your phone lying at home. There is no one to call. You drive hoping to get closer, but to what? You're not sure. You berate yourself for not stopping miles back for gas. How did you not know this was going to happen? But life was good. Life is good, you tell yourself. At this point, it doesn't matter about dodging the potholes. Hell, you're going to go right through them. The car bottoms out before you return to the road, feeling blessed that you didn't break an axle. The sky is turning gray as darker clouds roll towards you. The fields no longer hold their passion for life and lie in the shadow of what is coming. The sun gradually disappears and the electric blue car no longer has its luster. The road is no longer paved and turns into gravel. Deep ruts spread across its surface where torrents of rain wash clean remorse, regrets, shame, and guilt. The engine sputters, maybe one more mile. Just give me one more mile. The realization that you are not going to make it settles in, not to your destination or to the next gas station. A few sputters, one long gasp of taking its last breath, and it's done, empty. Ahead, the blue sky punches a hole in the darkened gray rolling clouds as sun cascades around the bend. You see it, it's right there. You step from your car, feeling lighter, buoyant, with no worries, no fear, pain, or suffering. No more potholes to dodge. You are free. As you glide closer and closer to the radiance ahead, you turn to look over your shoulder. The gray clouds engulf your once vibrant electric blue convertible and swallow the past. You can do this. You will do this, you murmur to yourself. One step at a time, closer and closer to the light. You are free. You are love.
That's so beautiful. It's very encouraging. The whole idea that we die seems relatively terrifying to most humans. And I guess I wonder why we're so afraid, why we're just so afraid to talk about it, to think about it, to just deal with death more openly and honestly. What do you think that's about?
I think it's about culture too. If you talk to Native Americans, if you talk to Tibetans, the Indian culture, it's very natural to have a conversation as their elders are getting elderly.
Mhm.
Sitting down and talking to the family and having the children prepare for that. And I think we're just programmed to go, go, go. And when it happens, we grieve and we mourn, and sometimes we get stuck in it, because we're not prepared. We don't know. Even those people that are dying that are very religious sometimes don't have any real belief or knowing of what's going to happen to them when they're on their deathbed.
Well, I wonder if it doesn't have something to do with the heaven hell programming that so many of us through the Judeo-Christian, archetype, we're just programmed to think that maybe we didn't do enough and we're not really going to go to heaven, whatever that is, right? That there's this chance that we really didn't do it good enough. And so then we need to deny and avoid and, go into denial that it's ever going to happen. I
Right.
just wonder. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we all question it, like we can believe in whatever we believe in this moment, but when we get to that point, does it really
Right.
stick?
Right. How can we kind of get beyond that, this archetypal idea, the cultural constraints? What do we do so that we can get more comfortable and have those conversations like Native Americans and other cultures do?
Well, I think we started doing that with having death doulas.
That's right.
you know I spoke to someone this morning who's 90 years old and is talking to parents who's lost their children, and she wants to be a death doula, so she's moving into that at 90, which I thought was incredible. But I think that is a start, that more people need that. They need to understand the dynamics, or what do they believe in, or what do they teach in the family about that. It's not heaven and hell. It's more than that. It's different than that. It's what's past this. I think today we're going to talk about too, like, what do we do on our deathbed? Like, what is it that we take accountability for in our life? What are we creating in our life that's important? How do you know, how do you want to be seen in your life? And I think a lot of people want just to know that they've been significant. You can't take your money with you. You can't take any of that with you. So did I have value in this lifetime? Was I significant? Did I help others? Did I love my family enough? Did I, it's those things that I think we need to understand, even from kids growing up. Like, if a grandparent was dying, is sitting down with them and letting them know, like, this is the transition, and this is what happens organically, and this is where the body goes, and this is where the spirit goes. And love your grandmom and give her much hugs and tell her how important she was in your life.
Right. Right.
Instead of crying and hooking into the loss. And what does it mean to you?
Right. I think it has something to do with really knowing that we're eternal. Like,
Mm-hmm.
everyone, I mean, particularly, not everyone, but particularly in the Judeo-Christian rule, everyone is taught that they are eternal, whether we're going to heaven or whether we're going to hell. And so if we
Right.
hold that with great esteem, that we're eternal, and we just relax, we're eternal, period.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots
Mm-hmm.
of options. We've talked about them in other podcasts. There's lots of ways to make choices on the other side and to, decide whether we're coming back or we're staying or whatever we're doing on the other side. But the notion that we're eternal somehow brings me great peace. It's like, it's not just ending. It's not just over. This moment when we die, we're not just nothing. And I don't know, that seems like it's impactful regarding how one has lived. And right, if we're going to continue, we're going to see each other.
Yeah, it's a recap, right?
Right.
It's a recap of, wow, I really wish that, and this is where Ho'opono can come in too, maybe not on their deathbed, but months before, if you know that you're in the past, in the process of passing, how do you clean up your life more? How do you reach out to those? Are you going to take remorse with you? Are you going to take anger with you? Or are you going to do something about it? Like, these are the hard things, but it's really about moving up to another level. And how do you want to cleanse yourself before you get to the other level? You don't want to walk in with dirt on your face,
Right. 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 Well, and I guess that makes me go like, well, does the dirt matter? Isn't it all lesson? Like,
No,
I don't know.
it's the cleaning up from one lifetime or one timeline to another, right? If you have the capability and you have the understanding, you have the desire, wouldn't you want to take a bath before you move on? Like, literally as much as you can, it's a big trip, like, hey, it's like that, going to the gas station, for that electric blue convertible that was
Right.
like zooming in life. And this was great. And potholes were nothing. And then, then you run out of gas and you don't have a phone.
Right. Yeah, I guess I'm in curiosity about that because I feel like an awful lot of the things that happen on this plane while I'm in this particular life are just experiences. They're in my service. And yes, I may come back and do it again and get it a little cleaner. And yeah, I'm all for clearing up timelines. But I guess I have a little bit of a resistance to the idea that I'm going to wait to the very end of my life to clean it up. Like, hopefully I'm cleaning it up all along. And then I'm not
Hopefully.
I think when I was a born again Christian, there was a whole lot of, there was some, I don't even have words for it, but some notion that you could just wait till you're dying and then accept Jesus as your savior and then you go to heaven. Right. And so it feels a little like that, like, oh, I'm gonna, if I know I'm dying, I might clean up my act. Well, I'm not sure about that. I hope I keep cleaning it up. I want to clean it up throughout my life and clear the timelines as we've been doing for a good long time with Cosmic Travelers and with all of our podcasts. We've been talking about timelines and how important they are. So I don't want to wait because of the death pressure. I guess that's the end of the.
And I'm not saying that at all, because our purpose in life is cleaning up our timeline. So we're not going to wait till we're 90 or 100 to do that. But it's teaching and knowing what's important when you are passing. It's more about that. Like, you got anything left over, leave it here.
Right.
Finish it, complete it, feel good about it, and leave it here.
And then to be able to teach the children or the adults in our lives to keep it clean, because as the conversation around death is opened up, to be talking about our own cleaning it up and how we've cleaned it up and how are you cleaning it up, what it seems like a beautiful way to talk about the death process. If it's happening to me and I'm about to die, I'd like my family around me and to talk about how are they valuing their own life? How are they cleaning up, having integrity in their own life and following the 7 seeds and so forth. So I have another question for us. What do we need to know about ourselves before we die?
I think it is at least for me, it's the value and the significance of what I contributed to others, this life, my family. What am I leaving them? do I have a, is there a legacy that you're leaving your family that is good? Have you changed anything genetically from patterns that might have been long trauma history? Have you changed that in this lifetime where you can acknowledge that for yourself? That, wow, like I was abused and my mother was abused and her mother was abused, and now I didn't have that in my life, and I didn't abuse my children. It's like taking a look. It's a recap, and sometimes we don't get any chance to do that.
Right.
Because it's an automobile accident and you're done. So it is about that, clearing it up as much as you can, acknowledging that for yourself of where are you in your life in any given moment, not just in the deathbed. Where are you in your life? What can you say? Hey, I did good there. And well, I need a little bit more work there, you know?
The next question on the paper here is, who would you have around you on your deathbed? And I'm not so interested in who you would have around your deathbed or who I would have, but just that question, to pose it, like, for each of us to be in the process of thinking about, like, who are the most important people in our life? Who are the people that really love us, and to write it down, and to know, for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not asking us to answer that question, but I took a long time ago, I think before I even went to college to become a therapist, I took a hospice class. I wanted to be a hospice worker, a volunteer for hospice. And some of the exercises that we had to do were so meaningful and changed me. And they were questions like these: who would you want to have at your deathbed? They had us write our own obituary, which I still
Yeah.
have in a folder on my computer for my children, even though they'll laugh and be like, she wrote her own freaking obituary. That's okay. What would be on your epitaph? How can you prepare? How can you take responsibility for your own? Do you have your own um, arrangements made? Does anyone know what arrangements you want? Do you want to be buried? Do you want to be cremated? Do you want a green burial? All of these kinds of
Right.
things were really wonderful. And I think they're questions to pose our audience, like, take a minute, take 10, write it all down, put it in an envelope, tell your people where it is, so that it's there, so that is already a conversation to have with our loved ones, right?
Yeah. And that is so valuable, I think, because in working with people that have had parents that didn't do any of that, they didn't, and their lifestyle might have been really difficult for their kids to clean up. It's horrendous. It leaves with a bitter taste. They can't really grieve because they're having to clean out a house of 50 years of stuff,
Mhm.
and they're going through stuff that is either, really emotionally impacting them. So they don't really get a chance to like grieve. It robs people of stuff. So as much as you can address, repair if necessary, but have things down. And there was an exercise. I don't know if we ever mentioned this, which has nothing to do with death, but you bring it up to write it down, is for people that they would write down what their next year, what they want to accomplish in their next year. They put it in an envelope and they would open that up a year later. And a lot of times all that was accomplished. I see it as seeding the field in some way, because you're intentionally putting something, you're writing it down. It's important enough that you write it down. And so when you do this in the dying process, or thinking about, who gets what and where, and, how do I want to be seen? And, if I have a chance on my deathbed, who would I like there? And what kind of service would I have? And I think it's like seeding the field. It's not that it's going to bring your death any closer, but it's about seeding the field of that intention so that it becomes much simpler whenever that day happens.
I think that's a really beautiful idea. I love it. I love that idea. I love the whole idea of not just seeding the field, but talking to our families about the things we're seeding, and maybe seed it all together, like even have a family dinner where it's talked about and everyone does this writing exercise. I mean, how sweet would that be? I think
Yeah.
that would be. Yeah.
Yeah, because we need to talk about it, we need to not shun it or be afraid of it. It's a natural thing. You may live to 120, great, great if you do, but you're not, your body can't last forever.
No, not this one. I'm sure it's not going to last for a long time. So, well, I think we've probably covered just about everything for today. I think we'll do one more, a part 2 on this, one more recording on this topic. Follow it
Yeah,
through a little bit.
I'd like to pull apart the Death Be Told thing that I read. I like to have a discussion about what does that really mean, and is there anything, like, how does it, because the evolves or the information, when I got that download, they do a lot of metaphors. If you take a look at the electric blue car, it's our bodies, right? If you take a look at the potholes, what do they mean? What does it mean that the clouds are rolling in? What does the gray mean? I'd really like to pull it apart and see if there's more richness. Yeah.
I have a couple more questions about, our lives and reviewing it that we can ask next time. Are we
Okay.
ready for?
Yes.
All right. Well, as usual, this episode is connected to the teaching presented at the July Live Cosmic Travelers. That's 2024 Live Cosmic Travelers event. The materials given during that meditation at that event will assist you in exploring this topic. You can order a recording of that event at soulunion.com. You can contact Darlene at soulunion.com if you have any questions, want a session with her or whatever. And you can contact me at livingwellbeing.net. Same thing. The Cosmic Traveler session is a live event on the third Sunday of each month. At this event, all people will participate in a guided interactive meditation directly with the evolves. Contact Darlene through soulunion.com for payment instructions and for the link to attend. Cosmic Travelers have a Facebook page. On Facebook, you can search for it in groups. Please submit your questions for the future of this podcast to soulunion.com. And you can listen to this on, my gosh, you can listen to it on YouTube or on your podcast. So that's about all I've got for today.
Okay, great, Melissa. Thank you. And remember, you know more than you know.